Good morning, masterminds. Welcome to another work vlog. It's my last work day of the year. It's 8:19 a.m. I'm behind schedule. Sunny side down. Oh. Chill.
Fuck hope. It shouldn't rain as I work. It shouldn't be that I must keep a 6 p.m. appointment open so I make enough money. I should use a sick day. Paid sick leave. I shouldn't even work. That's... damn.
5 hours later.
Use the left lane to merge onto US 101 North towards San Jose. Turn left.
Come on, guy! Faster! My first student failed my 2 practice tests, but I attribute her fails mostly to being nervous and not planning ahead, not reacting in time. But she's still a good driver because she learned from me in her first 2 lessons. What'd you do? Like, first route was 3 critical errors, 10 regular points lost. Second route, 2 critical errors, 6 points, regular points lost. So she learned. I threw all the tricks at her. And then I have 30 minutes to get to Gilroy from San Jose. I got to the student in time. The kid was kind of slow, afraid of speed, but he finished my lesson plan comfortably. I've had many notable experiences since the last work vlog. The first one I have noted here is a correction. Jeff with 1 F is actually Jeff with 2 Fs. The office does that to differentiate between the 2 Jeffs in app, because there's Jeff N, the one that trained me, and Jeff R, the very friendly Jeff. August 20th. After ending the last work vlog, I found on Yelp a 5-star review about me from my first student that day. My male boss responded to the review, thanking the student and calling me one of his superstar instructors. August 21st. First student was a 48-year-old Indian woman needing help with freeways. She told me she had been in a car crash before and struggles with decision-making and high speeds. We made progress from being on the freeways for most of the lesson time. I told her to work on her hand placements and scanning more things to not tunnel vision. She offered me coconut water, but I declined. She informed me she's interested in having more lessons with me. Second student, a 15-year-old girl that doesn't drive well and comes from privilege yet had to grow up early, wouldn't stop talking. I made it an easy 3rd lesson for her by just practicing some maneuvers and leaving her the test criteria booklet with all my notes. At one point in the lesson, we came across kids at a lemonade stand. She asked me if we can pull over as she wanted to support them, because she was reminded of her childhood operating a lemonade stand. The kids accepted Venmo, so she bought several goodies. I was surprised with pink lemonade and a crisped rice treat that had colorful marshmallows. She was charged $8.50, but she sent $50. My last student, a 16-year-old Indian girl, made 6 critical errors, 29 regular points lost on my practice test. She and her parents were very receptive to my critiques and advices. After we went through the route to fix the mistakes, I told her I need to use the restroom badly, and I will drive us to the driving school. I had a long urination. When I got back to the office, I had a 45-minute chat with, about 45 minutes chat with Gilberto and Jose, a young Mexican dude I had trained earlier this year. Jose was the one with the student that damaged one of the Kia Fortes. He showed us photos of the damage and told us it would have been worse if he used his brake. They mentioned they get texts from our bosses to not speed. I've not gotten any such notice. August 23rd. First lesson was with the 21-year-old autistic fuck I had on 6/28. No matter how I pointed out his mistakes and gave him ideas to correct them, he always gave excuses. Example, my neck hurts today. Again, he needed a toilet break halfway through the lesson. Next 2 lessons were also with young adults. My second student was licensed in Massachusetts and requested help with freeways. For her next lessons, I informed her to work on speed control and lane positioning when driving straight and turning. August 24th, I had a 29-year-old Indian woman on her 4th lesson, and who I'd be seeing her next 2 lessons. Gilberto recommended me to her. Or is it the other way? Gilberto recommended her to me to really learn proper driving. Second student was an 18-year-old Indian girl that had unrealistic goals. She wanted to get licensed before starting college in late September. I had to treat her second lesson as a first lesson, doing only left turns with 2 steering techniques. During my last lesson, 2 cars were engaged in road rage, passing us in the center left turn lane and running the stop sign. August 25th, first student was an 18-year-old Vietnamese guy. Throughout the lesson, he would try driving barefoot and with his slide on. Second student was a dumb, entitled 18-year-old white girl. Went to the country club for my last student. The mother opened the front door, and my sense of smell was bombarded by a typical Indian food smell. The mother informed me that they forgot. I don't know how they forget. That they scheduled the lesson a month ago, and her son would be home by 6:30 p.m. I arrived at about 4:55 p.m. I agreed to wait. She invited me into her big, luxurious house, gave me a glass of water, let me lounge on the couch, and then informed me her son would actually be back by 5:40 p.m. I was given a Nugo dark mint chocolate chip snack bar. I fulfilled the full 2 hours with a 6-foot, heavy-footed 15-year-old. Got back to the office around 8:20 p.m. I entered 3 hours credit on my time card for my exceptional customer service. 3 hours credit. Yeah, 3-hour lesson time, yeah. I noted that I'd even accept plus 1 hour to my travel time. August 26th. My bosses asked me about the client I stayed late for. My female boss then asked me if I remember issuing a certificate to a previous student, because he apparently lost it. First student was a 38-year-old Indian guy, informed by office to meet him at DMV. His licensed wife escorted him there to practice. They both joined me for the lesson. The wife sat behind the driver's seat. He failed the drive test twice before. He was a decent driver, but he failed my 2 practice tests. He decided to not go through with his 2 p.m. scheduled drive test in order to get more practice. August 27th. Morgan Hill Day, because of my last student. He was a great first-time driver. I chatted with Gilberto when I got back to the office. He told me that I passed as an 18-year-old. August 28th, I enjoyed my last lesson. 16-year-old Vietnamese girl started out nervous but made a lot of progress. We didn't get to drive at the Main Street traffic lights, though. We got honked at for doing a 3-second stop at a stop sign. I flipped off the driver behind us, and the person was fuming. The person decided to call off the chase after a few seconds, making a U-turn to go home. Anyway, the mom and white stepdad really liked me. They still like me. There's actually the student I had today. Yeah, the mom and white stepdad really liked me. When we returned to their apartment, they offered me a bottle of water. I accepted. And they invited me into their home to stay cool as I waited for the check to be written. I spoke with the stepdad some more and the extended Vietnamese family they were hosting were intrigued by me. They wanted me to eat dinner with them, but I kindly refused. Gilberto returned to the office after me. We chatted for a short time. He confirmed that he is ENFP. August 30th. I forgot snacks from home, so for the first time I bought myself some food during my hour break. I went to In-N-Out, but didn't want to wait in the long line. I settled for 2 large fries from McDonald's. As I drove my last student home, we almost got T-boned during our left turn at a light. The arrow turned green for me, yet the car in the closest opposing lane had started accelerating. Gosh. I stopped and held my horn down. My student laughed when I called the guy a fucking idiot.
Later.
It's 5:48 p.m. I don't think anyone's going to sign up for the 6 p.m. appointment slot. So that makes the smart-ass Indian kid I just had my last student of the year. It just baffles me how he doesn't know how to use the windshield wipers, and he's been driving for how long, and he has a few bad habits that are just like, would piss off other drivers. Just, what the fuck? I don't understand. Jill, you're gonna be fed some Costco gas for the first time. How does that sound?
It sounds affordable.
It's time for dinner. Okie dokie. August 31st. On the way to my second student, I got into a road rage incident. A guy was driving a pickup truck with city or county or construction worker labelings. He was driving in front of me. He didn't signal for the right turn. He just stayed in the straight lane. I lane changed into the bike lane to turn right. And then I saw him veering into me. And then I honked at him and sped up to avoid impact. He decided to chase me,
but I evaded him easily. September 1st, I was at a 76 station. There was a hick smoking by the gas pumps. And then I saw the worst practice score in a while. 5 critical errors, 40 regular points lost. Would have been 43 regular points lost if I counted the 3 optional intersections. I still note for those intersections if they traffic check or not. As I took a break close to my third student's home, I saw an old woman just in underwear and a tank top fetch her mail. I got back to the office around 7:15 p.m. I had a long chat with Gilberto. We got to know each other more on a personal level. He referred to our chat as a therapy session. He gave me a fidget toy to de-stress during lessons. Here it is. He told me he had the entitled white girl I had on August 25th, that he stopped her from leaving a bad review of me, and that her mother told her that I'm probably right. We left the office at 9:48 p.m. September 2nd, the 21-year-old Korean girl I taught on August 30th and September 1st texted me that she somehow passed the drive test with 1 error. The day prior, she asked me to be honest about her chances. I put it nicely that she probably wouldn't pass. My last student was a 16-year-old Filipino guy I hadn't seen since July 31st, 2021. He was a decent driver and completed my second lesson plan with ease. I returned to the office around 7:15 p.m. Gilberto arrived after me and we started chatting. Marilyn arrived, turned her stuff in, and left shortly after. Beth, one of the 2 senior-most instructors, kind but conservative, and Michael arrived in quick succession. Michael didn't stay long, about 30 minutes. We talked about our grievances. Beth is considering starting her own driving school. I think that's a joke. I got advice from her on how to improve my experience teaching students. She told me to take time to get to know them, don't let them know I'm afraid, have our bosses stop advertising on Yelp that I'm an ideal instructor for anxious people, have anxious students switch to her and Gilberto. We left the office around 10:30 p.m. Or no, at 10:30 p.m. September 7th. I had a student named Timmy, a young Asian dude. He is a bad Asian driver. I still enjoyed the lesson because we laughed throughout. At the office, Gilberto asked me about the memo I told him I'd create to inform my bosses of my grievances. He offered to create it for me because he thought it'd be fun to try being an INTJ. He then informed me that he had a conversation with our female boss on September 3rd because his car broke down and she had to pick him up. She learned from Beth that Beth, Gilberto, and I had a long chat on September 2nd. He brought me up particularly and defended me. My female boss mentioned that she hopes I'm not let go if another complaint comes through. Gilberto then informed me that the office checks in on us through the dash cameras, but as of late, for quite a few months now, most of the cars have had their dash cams unplugged because There have been complaints about it being very Big Brother-y. I met Ethan that day. Left the office at 9:44 p.m. At 10:53 p.m., Gilberto texted me, and I quote, "I got bored and did it for you. No thanks are necessary." Attached to the text was a PDF file titled Le Memo. The memo was basically a request to remove my name from Yelp as an ideal instructor for anxious drivers. And it was straight up savage. I began my memo before sleeping. September 8th. The cancellation on my schedule wasn't filled. I started at 2 p.m. Both students I had that day were named Tyler. Another fire near the office. Smoke coming up onto the freeway. September 9th. My first student was a 67-year-old man named Perfecto. It was a struggle to help him unlearn Philippine driving habits. His driver's licensed wife, a typical lovely Lola that still works, intended to have me teach him for his third lesson because she adored me and wants to support the Filipino. They invited me into their home so we could quickly chat without the noise from the yard workers outside. My third student was my youngest student yet, a 14-year-old boy born on November 8th, 2008. Gilberto told me I, or another instructor may be in trouble for teaching a dumb student the wrong information. Her mother left a review on Google. Our bosses were awaiting a response from her to learn more. After some discussion, we figured it was Gilberto. Because, let's see here. He thought cars turning on the unprotected left have the right of way over cars turning right onto the same street. We then talked about my memo, why I feel drained, parentheses, other instructors not doing their jobs, and how I recover hobbies of mine. He got curious about my YouTube hobby, and I told him I'm surprised he hadn't researched that part of my background. He agreed to me not telling him my social media handles. Other instructors came by. Beth told me directly she spoke with our female boss, telling her I'm afraid of getting fired. My female boss answered that me being fired is not likely. More conversation about MBTI with Gilberto and Ethan. Left the office at 9:16 p.m. September 12th, Gilberto texted me a screenshot of the company's Yelp page, now advertising his name instead of mine for ideal instructors for anxious drivers. I then saw a brand new review left about me and Gilberto on Yelp. The father called us an absolute dream team, one of us being more visual and the other being more technical. I'm the more technical one. He also mentioned his daughter passed the drive test with only 5 errors. In the evening, I shared my memo with Gilberto. He thought it was excellent. He advised me to only address it to our male boss, as he worried our female boss would take it the wrong way. September 13th, I turned in the 5-page, 4 pages full, 5th page about a quarter full memo to my male boss. I had to wait for my second student to get home from school. The old lady that talked through the front door was afraid of me. She called her son, who was picking up his son, to verify my business there. She then invited me inside to wait. I sat at their living room piano. At 4:05 p.m., an office lady informed me my last student canceled. I decided to have my schedule blocked if a replacement wasn't found by 4:30 p.m. I was nervous to enter the office because my male boss was still there when I got back. Luckily, they were all busy on the phones. September 14th, my male boss wasn't in office when I arrived. I had a 32-year-old Indian woman. She agreed to me being technical in my teaching. We barely did left turns in residential areas. Disaster averted, as she didn't take my laughter offensively and thanked me for my patience after checking my frustration level. My 2:30 p.m. slot couldn't be filled. I coordinated with the office lady to move up my 5 p.m. appointment to 3 p.m. and open up a 5:30 p.m. appointment. I headed to the part of town where my 3 p.m. student lived. I went to a hillside park to walk and enjoy the view. Later, I parked in a neighborhood close to my 3 p.m. student. I was approached by Tito, a man that works for VTA, and applied on Indeed to work for our school. I gave him the office number and noted the encounter on my time card for my male boss to see. He walked back to his house that I was parked in front of. My 5:30 p.m. appointment was filled by one of the students double booked for 5 p.m. the next day. I notified the office of that conflict. The last student liked me so much that he requested a selfie to be taken for his Be Real account. Left the office around 8:50 p.m. September 16th, my male boss asked to move our meeting to September 19th. I agreed. I received from the mother of my first student a pretty envelope. Inside was a card with a handwritten note thanking me for teaching her son and daughter to be confident, responsible drivers. Inside a purple Asian decorated envelope was $100 cash. The biggest tip I've received yet, and in one day. September 17th. Before I headed to my first student, I felt more diarrhea coming because I had Indian food. I quickly did my business at the office. On September 18th, I was hungover because Josh died. September 19th, I had a meeting with my male boss. He made notes on the back of my memo. He underestimated how stressed I can get. He noted a time I had to slam the brake after getting cut off. He checked the in-car camera. He told me he doesn't check often, but he definitely checks when it activates in certain events, because he gets a notification. He heard me scream, "You motherfucker." He told me that shocked him because it's such a departure from my calmness and good manners. He told me he hired me accepting the downside of my personality. He values me because I am a dream employee. Because 99.99% of the time my customers are satisfied. He told me to call in for mental health days to be treated as paid sick leave. He wanted me to take more time to think about what and how I speak to a student, as usual. He wanted us to communicate more to keep my job satisfaction up. He only disagreed about my point about my fellow instructors. He told me he rarely gets calls about poor instruction, maybe 2 out of 600 lessons per month that gets that kind of complaint. I mentioned I will need to take time off for Josh's funeral. He started the whole conversation about asking about my weekend. I told him about Josh. September 22nd. Worst practice test score yet. Perfecto made 7 critical errors, 39 regular points lost. Missed all 3 optional intersection traffic checks, not counted in the score. The sad part is the wife bought him a new Volkswagen SUV, which was parked in their driveway. Second student was the anxious French girl that switched to our school after being yelled at by her previous instructor from a different school. She made so much progress before and during the lesson. September 25th. 4 regular appointments. Was my first time submitting 8 appointment hours on my time card. Previous special scenarios caused me to log 7 hours 30 minutes official appointment hours, and I had my latest scheduled appointment yet at that time, 6 to 8 p.m. On the way to my second student, this chubby white dude with only shorts on was walking with his ass out. My second student made me laugh when he said pop and shove rather than push and pull. September 26th. 4 regular appointments. My latest scheduled appointment yet, 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. I was home by 10:20 p.m. September 27th. 3 regular appointments. My 7:30 p.m. student canceled. My 5 p.m. student was the brother of my 5 p.m. student the day before. I had to teach them both proper staring techniques. I couldn't finish my second lesson plan. Haley. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. So, the girl, Haley, she finished center left turn lane scenarios. We had little time for steering techniques. Her brother, Luke, we attempted center left turn lane scenarios, but I decided to put more time into steering techniques for him. September 28th, 3 regular appointments. My 2 p.m. student wasn't in town as the family thought the lesson was canceled, so I had to move up my other lessons. Well, I didn't have to, I wanted to. I felt pissy during my first lesson, especially since my student tried to swing the car in front of oncoming traffic. I texted my boss to check the company's sick leave policy. I should have asked about the bereavement policy. And to inform him I'm undecided about taking the next day off for my sanity. Later, he informed me he operates at the legal minimum, 24 hours of paid sick leave usable per year. I decided to redeem 8 hours for September 29th. My last student that day was so frustrating. Poor maneuvering with poor decision making. Just because I was right, he slammed the doors when we switched seats. Yeah, he was a fucking dick. Dumbass. September 29th. First time taking sick leave. I took it easy that day. October 4th, I was asked by my male boss to continue being in charge of instructor training. he asked me to create a bulletin and or videos of how to do maneuvers for training purposes. Both bosses jokingly asked if I get stage fright, but I shared a snippet of my performance at the funeral. They thought it was beautiful. October 5th, I had a 41-year-old Filipina. She was with our school in 2020 but had health problems that prevented her from driving. She mentioned she didn't learn much from the previous instructors and tried learning from her husband. We had a great lesson because she was easy to teach and was giddy at her mistakes. My second student was a 16-year-old Indian girl with awful foot-hand-eye coordination. She barely drove 200 feet on a residential road. Most of the lesson was us being parked and her practicing the techniques. What was this? She was clueless and found the whole experience funny. I even had to teach her father that his car has a parking brake button for when they practice. October 6th, during my first lesson, a wheelchaired person was taking up an entire lane on the street. Wheelchair bound. They got wheelchaired. October 8th, unexpected instructor training. A young Hispanic guy approached me as I was cleaning my assigned car. He told me he needed 4 more hours of training, so I allowed him to shadow me for my first 2 of 4 lessons. Third student's name is Jacob Littlejohn. October 9th, unexpected instructor training. Alan showed up again and asked to shadow me. He was with me for my first 2 of 4 lessons. I had my lowest fuel warning yet that day, because after my last lesson, I got to a 76 station with 21 miles left in range. With a company card, I purchased 11.351 gallons of gas. Cost was $73.77. October 11th, during my hour break, an African father and his 2 sons, the teen one driving, pulled up next to me to inquire about our services. My last student was a big guy, tall dude with poor motor skills. Louis talking. Fucking Invisalign. Really hard. October 12th. I had a 38-year-old Asian woman on her 4th lesson. She considered taking more lessons with me and Gilberto, not her previous instructors. My last student that day, he reminds me of Nick and Logan. He looks like Nick and is named Logan. He left the driver's seat, awfully sweaty for me. It's disgusting. October 18th, I arrived at the office and found pictures of a severely damaged Kia Forte, the one that was in a collision with a truck prior. It was a daytime accident. The front right of the car was smashed into a street lamp. So I don't know what the fuck the instructor was doing, but they're making a right turn at a stop sign near a park, and I don't understand how that damage could happen. October 19th, I had the 41-year-old Filipina again. Then I had a 31-year-old Indian woman. She wasn't that bad. October 23rd, I saw a mentally ill Asian lady leaning over onto one knee and just rocking back and forth. At about 2:30 p.m., I saw her at a gas station. And then at 6:09 p.m., I saw her on a winding road in a hillside community I practice with students in. My last student that day, an Indian girl on her second lesson with me, almost crashed into a doe and fawn because of the darkness. She couldn't see. October 25th, my latest start time yet, 5 p.m. It was my first lesson with the African teen boy that I met on October 11th. October 26th, the mother of my last student tipped me $50 cash. Again, informed me I'll be taking the younger brother in a few months. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. October 27th, one student that day, 2 p.m. start. I got back to the office, started to prepare my notes on the practice test booklets for my students the next day. My male boss finished a call and let me know I did a great job with the student I had that day. Her name's Lauren, because she requested me for another lesson. Next thing I know, a middle-aged white woman enters the office. I was ready to answer her question, but she received a call and stepped out. My boss attended to her when she came back in. She complained that she was flipped off by an instructor on August 28th at 4:45 p.m. My boss wasn't really having it when she insisted the instructor should be reprimanded. I came clean about the incident and apologized to my boss. He told me he wanted to call her a Karen. He joked that he noticed me cowering in the corner when she was talking to him. Yeah, I didn't look over at them when she was complaining. I only mentioned it to my boss after she left. We laughed it off. Gilberto came later. He learned I caused him to have a big gap in his work shift the next day because Lauren replaced a guy that I disliked teaching. On my schedule. I overheard from my boss, who was chatting with the instructor that trained me, that the Kia isn't a total loss. During my commute home, I saw a guy in a big Transformers costume on the sidewalk. October 28th. On the way to my 5 p.m. student, I almost got hit by a red light runner. I was making a left at the light. Light turned green for me. The middle lane of 3 oncoming traffic lanes was vacant. As I got over the crosswalk to turn, a woman sped through and away. October 29th. I had a 3-hour, 30-minute gap because my 3:30 p.m. student canceled as I got to work, and the slot wasn't refilled. My 6 p.m. student didn't want to move up. I'm still sure he is an absolutely dogshit driver. Because during that lesson he was anxious, always made excuses. I recorded video for Gilberto and Jeff to see, who were unexpectedly still at the office when I arrived. October 31st, I was notified by Gilberto that I received a 5-star Yelp review with nice comments about me. It was from the Irish lady who took her last lesson with me on October 23rd. She passed the drive test. Gilberto was concerned about her recommendation of me to anxious drivers. November 2nd, Morgan Hill Day. I had to give a 2-hour, 15-minute third lesson to a student because he took a 1-hour, 30-minute first lesson with another school. 11/4, November 4th. Another Morgan Hill Day. Only one lesson at 2 p.m. I heard from Jeff R. about this kid that barely talks and may not see stop signs. And yeah, he has an issue paying attention, and he runs stop signs. Attempts to. I stopped him, of course. November 5th was the return of a 3-lesson only workday on a weekend. It was also a Morgan Hill Day for me. November 6th was a 4-lesson workday. November 8th, my first lesson was at 2 p.m. with Timmy, the bad Asian driver. It was frustrating because he didn't make enough progress since our previous lesson together. I had to drive to the office during the lesson because I needed to evacuate my bowels. I was sweaty from clenching. I think I had diarrhea stemming from the curry and or sourdough I had the night before. On the way back to his home, I flipped off a driver for trying to cut us off. He was turning out from a driveway into the center left turn lane, and he didn't yield to us. November 9th, I had a 40-year-old Bulgarian Canadian guy that moved to California 1.5 months prior and had no car. I took him to the DMV for his second attempt at the drive test, and he passed. He needed to pass the test to be able to register the new Chevy Bolt he bought earlier in the week. His wife passed her drive test, but his name was on the dealer's paperwork. Our discussion about politics during the wait for his test segmented into a lively discussion about the Ukraine war during the drive back to his home. He thinks I buy into Russian propaganda. On the way back to my last student's home, we encountered an impaired driver, poor lane positioning, significant drops and gains in speed, slow reactions, missing road signs and signals. Eventually mounted the curb and almost crashed into a pole. And I was like, yeah. That's why you don't trust other drivers, student. November 12th. I had a 25-year-old white guy that is a Columbia University student and still sucked at driving on his final lesson. I got back to the office to turn in my stuff. Unexpectedly, my mail boss came through the front door. He told me he forgot his laptop at the office. He then informed me he was instructed by the board of the Driving School Association of California to create monthly newsletters because their newsletter guy never did the work. He offered to pay me 5 hours per month to create the newsletters. He told me we would sit down for like an hour each month for me to know what to document. I accepted the offer. November 13th. My first student was a 43-year-old East Asian lady, I think Mongolian, on her 8th lesson, with the intention to take the test the next day using our service. She appreciated my honesty about her not being ready, but told me I was harsh at first. My fourth student was a 29-year-old Indian woman. She has a long way, I'm sure still, to become a good driver, but she listened to me and got the techniques ingrained in her mind. November 14th. Gilberto shared a video of him asking the African kid I taught weeks ago of him calling me strict and demanding. He also informed me he silenced the office when he answered their question as to why he's taking November 15th off to hang out with me. November 16th. When I got to the office, I was informed by my bosses that a company hired us to train their drivers, and I'd be one of the 2 instructors to do the teaching on the coming Friday. 4 drivers, 45 minutes each. My first student was the 41-year-old Filipina. I took her to the DMV. She got the dragging lady. She turned a little early and dropped off the curb slightly when exiting the parking lot, but the examiner didn't stop the test, to my surprise. Emmeline, the student's name, still failed because she did not make a shoulder check for bikes on a right turn. She California rolled a non-island red light, and she did not use the center left turn lane properly. Or no, she didn't use it at all. The dragging lady called me over and complained to me about instructors at my school. She didn't recognize me because in 2020, was it a few weeks into the job, I got caught by her in the test area with a student. She cursed me out and threatened to take my instructor license and even shut down the school. November 17th. I saw that my second student the previous day, after just 1 lesson, left a 5-star Yelp review with nice comments about me. When I got to the office, I was provided my schedule and grading papers to assess the company. I was told I'd be paid $30 per assessment. I was also informed to expect to create a newsletter the first week of December. I received a $20 cash tip from a kind Filipino family. November 18th. I drove in my personal vehicle to the caregiver organization's house I was assigned to. I assessed 4 people: Rita, Mutoni, Amy, and Gannett. Rita is Mithoni's daughter. Amy's the only white woman and the program director. Mithoni is the head caregiver. Rita, Mithoni, and Gannett are Kenyan, I think. Gannett was the only one I wondered how she got licensed. Her top speed was 15 miles per hour. She explained that she has a bad back and right leg caused by a crash she was in years ago. I drove to the office after completing those assessments to complete and submit my paperwork. November 20th, my 4th student was a 21-year-old obese Mexican girl. To keep my income, I gave in to the overprotective parents' insistence to let the mother observe from the back seat. It's a liability issue, because the school's insurance only covers the student and the instructor. November 21st, before I drove off to my first student, a lady alerted me by honking her car to the basket I left on the roof of my car. When I met her, my first student, I knew she was going to struggle. She is a small, soft girl with low confidence and poor handling of cars. I had to go over basics. We were parked for most of the lesson practicing steering techniques and how to use the gas pedal with them. She was receptive of my guidance, but was bottling up her frustration with herself. I'm assuming the mother found us because of tracking her daughter's phone. She pulled behind us and approached the driver's door. The girl started crying and told her mom, and I quote, "I was never taught how to steer this way." The lesson ended then and there, 30 minutes short of 2 hours. The mother gave me no reason to believe she would complain to the office. I returned to the office to use the restroom. My female boss told me I made the right call to switch cars because she found a nail in the tire that I saw was low on air. Before I started my second lesson, I saw the first student disappear from my schedule, so I knew there was a call and a complaint. The mother of my last student looked like the restaurant owner of the Kitchen Nightmares restaurant Bella Luna. Season 6, Episode 9. November 22nd, I had a 29-year-old black woman coming back to driving 7 months later and after having a kid. November 23rd was my second and consecutive time with an anxious driver named RJ. I should add absent-minded to the description of him. He made little progress. I had about a 10-minute conversation with his mom about his struggles and why they should try out Gilberto. I told her I think he's developing animosity towards me. While refueling, the guy next to me drove off and tore the hose off the pump. The idiot took it off and got the fuck out of there. November 26th, RJ's mom didn't cancel the lesson till that morning. I noted on my time card +1 travel hour, but I still lost out on money because someone else could have taken that appointment if they canceled earlier and opened up the opportunity for someone else. I decided to keep the gap because I opened up a 6 p.m. appointment and didn't want a long break after my 3:30 p.m. appointment. It was my first time seeing X listed by sex on someone's permit. I returned to the office just before 6 p.m. I decided to scare Gilberto. I told him I left a gift for him at the office. Before he got back, I parked my car elsewhere and then sat in the office with the door locked and lights turned off. He arrived at 7:13 p.m. and we had a long talk until we left at 11:25 p.m. He's got me.
I'm the present. No, you didn't get scared. Fuck.
Where is it?
I was joking. I'm the present.
Bigger presents. Dude, you're fucking scaring me.
I thought you would like scream at least.
No, I'm not a screamer. Trust me. I was like, oh, I just freeze in place. But holy fuck. I know I saw Jose and everybody else, but I thought you left too. I didn't see your car. Like
I moved it.
bitch.
I got every little detail.
Good.
I'm the
Serious
mastermind.
So you're just waiting here for like how much time?
I planned it like around 6:20-ish when they
6:20?
left.
What the fuck?
And I was like, it's not gonna be long till he gets back.
Fuck, you know, schedule already? Damn. It's all planning and preparation.
November 28th. My 11:30 a.m. student was argumentative with me during my practice test because he disagreed about the critical errors I marked, even the dangerous maneuvers I intervened on. My 5 p.m. student rescheduled to a later date with me, so it was only a one student workday. I decided to shadow Gilberto on his remaining 4:30 p.m. appointment. We grabbed In-N-Out for a late lunch before the appointment. I pretended to be a new instructor in training. My name was not mentioned. I took notes during the lesson and only spoke when Gilberto asked me questions. Gilberto is very hands-on and soft, gentle with his students. That's why he gets a lot of nice reviews. November 29th, I came to the office and found one of my practice test booklets and my bottle of hand sanitizer missing from my basket. As requested the day before, I spoke with my mail boss in more detail on the newsletter job. I finished my one lesson with a great student. I returned to the office and left a passive-aggressive note directed at the thief to not take my stuff a third time. I FaceTimed Gilberto, and he convinced me to add a smiley face to the note. We ended up chatting for 4 to 5 hours. I don't have it noted here for some reason, but Gilberto gifted me a basket for me to keep my paperwork and cleaning equipment in. Looking through my texts, on November 21st, he offered me one of his 2-for-1 baskets, along with stickers of my name to apply to the basket. It had to be November 23rd that I received it, because he had to get the stickers shipped. Yeah. It was after our work shifts. We were at the office. We made the exchange. I applied the stickers myself. November 30th, there was no reaction from the office staff about my note. My first of 2 students was a 21-year-old dude that had poor foot-hand-eye coordination. December 2nd, I only had 1 student at 5 p.m. When I returned to the office, I realized there were 5 $1 bills in my basket. My last student on November 30th tipped me $5 because she didn't have exact change, so my female boss released the tip to me in cash. December 5th, I arrived at the office and noticed disinfectant wipes were missing from my basket. Gilberto dared me to mention it to our female boss. I just proceeded to my 5 p.m. student. It gets better. The lesson was frustrating because the guy has a learning disability. December 8th. My first student was a licensed 48-year-old German woman getting back into driving after years of not driving. She made decent progress on her 6th lesson. We almost ran over a dog that ran out into the street. She enjoyed our lesson and planned to schedule more with me. I haven't seen her since. In the afternoon, Gilberto informed me his basket was missing sanitizing wipes. I got back to the office after 3 lessons. It smelled like puke and shit. I told Gilberto about it. He informed me he discovered the culprit stealing from us. It gets better than that. December 9th. I had one student at 11:30 a.m. A 33-year-old man from Ghana in the US for almost 3 months. He was licensed in Ghana, so I could proceed with the lesson. He was decent at maneuvering, but his biggest challenge is decision making with California rules of the road in mind. I told him to get a permit if he wants to earn a California driver's license, and I left him with a California driver's handbook. December 10th, my second student reminded me of my dead friend Aaron in looks and personality. After finishing my 2 lesson shift, it would have been 3, but I had a cancellation, I encountered my female boss at the office. I was preparing my test booklets when she came in to drop off some items. December 11th. Apparently, I was the first one to have the replacement car 17, another 2022 Kia Forte. I saw 33 miles on the odometer. It was parked up against the curb, and I heard scratches on the underside of the bumper when I was reversing. I was like, what the fuck? I checked my schedule again and saw I only had 1 student. My 12:30 p.m. student canceled sometime that morning. 2 or 3 days prior, my 10 a.m. student canceled. Rain pussies. I had to wait for my 3:30 p.m. appointment because the student was busy ice skating. I killed 3 hours 30 minutes with a walk, a nap, and a snack. My student closely resembled Josh's ex. During the lesson, I realized I wasn't provided with a gas card or instructor rearview mirror. I was just so intrigued. New car. December 13th, I had the day off because no one signed up for lessons with me that day. Gilberto didn't have work because his single lesson was moved by the student to a later date. We hung out, including doing work-related activities. I let him try Costco gas with the membership card I got that day. We explored a DMV test area. I showed him my practice test routes near that DMV, and we had a late lunch at Cali Spartan Mexican Grill. Kitchen. December 14th, I felt drowsy during work because I took Tylenol to ease the pain from my teeth shifting. Gilberto informed me someone stole his prescription sunglasses. My second of 2 students was an Indian teen. He did all right. When I returned to the office, I saw a note from my female boss about Gilberto's missing sunglasses. Gilberto added onto the printed note, "Relinquish the glasses, ... now, !" And then an angry face drawing. I took a photo and sent him an edited photo where I added "fucking cunt." He told me he hates how the note implies that he lost his sunglasses. It's even better. December 15th, I only had 1 student at 2 p.m. It was an anxious 18-year-old guy that got me frustrated. Disaster averted though. I found the office closed early. December 16th, I went back to bed after dropping Mia off at school. At 10:07 a.m., the office lady informed me that she filled my 11:30 a.m. slot. I had to scramble to leave for the office around 10:30 a.m. It was surprising to have 3 appointments on a weekday. I saw one after I ended my shift the day prior. I saw 2 appointments before I went to sleep. I almost got T-boned by a stupid Asian driver with my 3rd student. We were U-turning on a green when the guy zipped through his island right turn at a high speed. I had to stomp on the brake and grab the steering wheel. I was super fucking pissed in front of my student. December 17th. My basket and 1 test booklet were missing. The other booklets and my paperwork were left behind. I was enraged. Like, it was physically difficult to be still. I left a handwritten note by the car key rack stating, "You're a fucking cunt for taking my basket." The guy that took it arrived soon after with a student. He parked his assigned car and brought my basket in. When I was cleaning my assigned car, I was like, wait a minute, that's my basket. I was thinking about whether to confront him or not. I decided to. I shared my evidence with Gilberto. My female boss got word and texted Gilberto and me to take our baskets home. So I now keep it in my car.
Excuse me, Joel? Joel, right?
Yeah, what's up?
Please don't take my stuff.
What's that?
My basket.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is yours? Oh, forgot. Because when this morning I saw like the J, it looks like Joel, and I put it back, the certificate. I didn't mean to, because your name and my name, the J, the way they spell it, it
Yeah.
looks like a Joel and Noel. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Sorry about that.
Take your stuff in my basket.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You want this or you want to take that?
I'm taking my stuff.
Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't see that. Sorry. There you go. Sorry, Noel.
I yelled at my 2nd student because he turned slow in front of oncoming traffic. At 2:04 p.m., Gilberto shared with me his recording of his encounter with the thief of my basket. I discovered my 6 p.m. student canceled. My 3rd student was a 21-year-old Indian guy in Morgan Hill. He was anxious, especially after his last driving lessons being over 2 years ago. He made progress. He made me laugh when he told me he thought I was annoyed with him the entire time for his repetitive mistakes. I told him I'm mildly annoyed when I must repeat myself, and extremely annoyed when progress isn't being made. He felt much better. His parents invited me into their home to update them. It didn't smell spicy. On the freeway drive back to the office, I communicated for the first time to another driver to get out of the leftmost lane by leaving my left signal on as I traveled behind the person. At the office, I found a printed schedule as part of my paperwork for the next day. I didn't request it. I went paperless long ago when the office wanted to save on paper. I verified with Gilberto that my note was missing by the time he arrived at the office, around 11:15 a.m. December 18th. When I dropped off my first student, an Indian couple walking around the block approached me and inquired for the wife and daughter. When I dropped off my second student, a passerby thought I greeted her when I was communicating to the parents behind her. When I dropped off my last student just before 8 p.m., I pulled out of the parking lot of the apartment complex, and then I get T-boned from the right. So there's no stop sign for me. There are stop signs on every other street. I still stopped and checked before going. I remember a big bang and me shifting violently in my seat. The airbags did not deploy. I was stunned for like a second or two, and then I got really pissed off. I cleared the intersection, parked like kind of in a muddy, grassy area because there's no sidewalk right next to the road I was trying to enter. Yeah, I got out of the car and questioned the other driver. I also inspected the damage. Pedestrians that saw it asked us if we were okay. I informed my student and his mom that I was in a crash. They came out and checked. The 55-year-old white guy told me he was distracted by someone crossing the road and that this collision ends his life. I assume he's a delivery driver because I remember seeing headlights from the right before I pulled out of the driveway. They were not moving because they were not changing in size, yeah? So his car's, he's stationary in the middle of the road, far from the stop sign. He tried to put the blame on me, so I wasn't having it. He saw driving school. I was like, oh shit. Yeah, I was not having that. So we exchanged information, yada yada. I informed Gilberto and then my male boss. I realized the car was truly immobilized. The front right tire was pushed in, damaging the strut and or axle. The car tugged right as I moved it to a curb, a safer spot to park. My boss told me our tow guy wouldn't be active until after Christmas, so he offered me reimbursement for a ride share. But Gilberto was nice to get out of bed and help me. When we arrived at the office parking lot, he gave me the presents he got for me. In the office, we noticed my left eye was irritated. It subsided during my drive home, but it's unfortunate. Car 16, one of the Kia Fortes we got earlier this year. Damn. New cars, the Kias, are cursed with accidents. December 20th, during my first lesson, I received a text from a progressive agent. She wanted to collect details about the collision. I notified my boss and told him my inclination is to not give a recorded statement. He told me to tell her what happened and that it won't be recorded, so I intended to follow his wish. when I had free time. A student signed up for my 5 p.m. appointment slot, but his name disappeared from my schedule after I finished with my 11:30 a.m. student. Because the previous instructor left me with less than a quarter of a tank of gas, I planned to refill before my 2 p.m. lesson, but the company card was not working at the 276 stations I tried. The office lady informed me that new cards are on their way. After the 2 p.m. lesson with an anxious, poor motor skill 18-year-old Indian girl, I went to Chevron, redeemed points, and earned points. I learned it's possible to redeem more than 500 points for a fill-up. I was to be reimbursed the next day, $32.70. After I turned in my stuff at the office, I called the progressive agent and ended up doing a recorded interview. It's like, God damn it. I'm not intending to file a personal injury claim. I was told I can update my claim to include it if I get and document treatment. December 21st, I was given a check of $32.70 to reimburse me. After I finished the first appointment, the kind and chatty mother of my first student, she's some kind of Southeast Asian, Thai, Laotian, Vietnamese, I don't know, she gifted me homemade stone fruit crumble. I consider it a crisp, and promised to tip me the next lesson with her son. My second student, who I had on November 21st and taught her basics, told me she didn't practice much and requested to go over parking. We practiced parking for practically the entire lesson. I spent greater than 2 hours with her as we arrived at her home around 4:15 p.m. I arrived at the office around 5:30 p.m. Gilberto wanted to have another therapy session. As I was preparing booklets, a homeless junkie came in, greeted me, and babbled some nonsense. The last thing he said was, "I'm Darth Vader." I just ignored him and he left immediately. I chatted with Gilberto until we left at 10:32 p.m. December 22nd, after work, Gilberto accepted my invitation to shop at Whole Foods. It was his first time there. He bought Manuka honey. December 23rd, I received from my bosses my gift alongside my paperwork. They weren't in office because they were enduring COVID-19. My boss mentioned so in the call the night of the crash. I had a frustrating lesson with a 16-year-old Indian girl. Her parents still intend to stick with me even though I questioned their daughter's passion to learn how to drive. I remember her just looking to the side and like being like, oh my god, she really went there or something. When I got back to the office, I saw Joel's present. I joked with Gilberto about taking the money and leaving the chocolate in my basket. We had round 2 of Whole Foods. We got back to the driving school parking lot. We chatted in Gilberto's car. We saw our coworker Michael come late to the office. And then we were discussing, is he homeless or not? Because there's some details that are kind of makes you wonder. We taste tested the Manuka honey he bought. He ended up not liking it and gifting it to me. I thought it was okay. It's thick. Tasted like regular honey. We went to McDonald's and ate at the driving school parking lot. We parted at 12:05 a.m. December 27th, I saw my boss driving fast behind me on the way to the office. That was my morning commute. When we were by the key rack, Michael asked me how my holiday was as he went in for a one-arm hug. I automatically went in for a two-arm hug. He then asked me about the sexual assault story our boss tells every new hire. My third student canceled. I moved up my 6 p.m. appointment to 4:15 p.m. During that lesson, Gilberto informed me that our female boss will pay him to replace his stolen prescription Ray-Ban sunglasses. $375.50. It's like, damn. I made Gilberto and myself laugh in front of our students with my Nicolas Cage jokes. December 28th, my male boss informed me my 3:30 p.m. student wants to move up to 3 p.m. I agreed to it. It's funny that the family's surname is Bump. They called the office to bump up the lesson. Gilberto informed me who left the office smelling like shit. On December 8th. Alrighty, masterminds, allow me to get to holiday. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you by New Year's Eve. Remember, be smart for your heart. Good night.